Hello everyone, and I welcome you all to the show Youth Icon. Today we have with us a columnist, an author, a motivational speaker, a social worker, an interior designer, and the list goes on. So let's not waste a lot of time and invite and welcome Nisha Jamvwal to our show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to be on this glitzy channel, YTV. I think, one of the reasons I've explored so many avenues of design, of writing, of acting, you forgot acting, is because I think life is not about compartments. A lot of us believe that you start life being maybe a designer, and you have to end life being a designer. And on my part, I've always thought of life as a journey, an experience, a travel experience, where you start with something, and as you go along, you change your game to become contextual. You add. So it doesn't mean that I've stopped writing. I write. I added on interior architecture, designing. I even became a fashion designer. Today, I have a brand consulting company. I act. I've done a few vignettes for Madhur Bhandarkar's films. I do theatre. I do public speaking. And if you were to ask me, have I enjoyed life this way? I'd say, it's given me such different dimensions. I've met so many interesting people. And when I leave the world, I will probably have no regrets.
Like you just mentioned, you're into so many varied fields. How does Nisha Jamvwal's typical day look like?
Nikita, there is no typical day. And I like it that way. I feel that life doesn't for a creative person, it doesn't have to be so regimented. So let me just say that if today I have a column to write, I'll start it with writing. I'll go on to my architectural meetings. I'll do a little brand consulting. There are days that I have many columns to write, so I'll only write. There are days that I have to shoot. I have to do, for instance, I'm doing your interview today. So some things happen spontaneously, some things happened in a planned way. Life is beautiful when you can go with the flow. When you have a wave, you ride it. When you have a depression, which means when things aren't going the way you want them to, you lie low and you regroup, you collect yourself and do the things that you've left for that period when you want to hibernate. So my message would be that let life throw in the cue. Let life give you the hint as to what is it to be done. But if you were to ask me what is, quintessentially my week, I'd say I start the day with writing. And it goes on to doing other works that I've planned for myself. But, and if you were to ask me what I love the most, while I love all design and creativity, writing is my first love and my first calling.
Yes, I've read quite a few articles that you've written, and everything is like so amazing, and there's loads and loads of messages to the youth that you pass on, and that's like great positive vibes that spread reading your articles. I think the youth out there, they should read your articles and you will be enlightened, I feel.
Thank you so much. I actually have a blog called Nisha Jamvwal, and I'd love all of you to visit that blog, join it. And the blog quintessentially deals with relationships.
Yes.
I think as social media has, grown, catapulted into the world, it's become the new, newspapers are passé. In a world like that, relationships are at risk.
Yes.
People are, multitasking relationships, not jobs. A lot of them, are chatting with a woman in a marriage, having an affair. And I think the beauty of life is to have integrity in relationships. So that's one of the things I deal with in my relationship column, which is my blog.
Yes, I've actually gone through quite a lot of relationship articles that you've written, and when she says it's relationship, it's not just a relationship between a guy and a girl. It's relationship in every other sphere. So you've written about a mother and daughter.
Mother and daughter, father and son, siblings.
Yes, that's quite amazing articles. I think you should.
Thank you so much, Nikita.
You're welcome. And I'm so happy that I could do this interview with you today. So what brings Nisha Jamvwal to Bangalore?
There's a whole group of us. There's also Jennifer Kotwal. There's who've come for a wedding of Vikram Dasapa. You know something, Nikita? I feel travel and interaction with different human beings in the world also add to one's understanding and repertoire of life experiences and relationships. You know, the more you interact with different people from different walks of life, the more you gain that level of introspection and that level of understanding people. And that's what you see coming out in my articles.
Okay. So, I mean, what brings you to Bangalore? Like, are you a frequent visitor to
I
Bangalore?
am a frequent visitor to Bangalore. One of your foremost newspapers invited me as a guest editor.
Okay.
I find Bangalore one of the warmest cities in India. I feel Bangalore is a welcoming city. I love the trees, I love the landscape, I love the people, I love the architecture, I love the history. I love the city. I mean, if I was to be asked which was, you know, the city where I'd like a second home, it would have to be Bangalore.
Bangalore. How often do you visit?
Around once a month, definitely,
Once in a
yeah.
month.
But this time I've come for Mr. Vikram Disdasapa's wedding.
So, did you get to taste Bangalore's local
Cuisine,
this
yes,
time?
absolutely. I love Bangalore cuisine.
Okay.
And I enjoy the level of spice. I enjoy the myriad flavors and hues of Bangalore food. As a designer, as a person who's, you know, fond of food, I've always enjoyed Bangalore cuisine and the way it's presented.
And Nisha, how come the world famous author Jeffrey Archer has written a book about you?
So Nikita, you know, I was asked by international media that, are you flattered that Lord Jeffrey Archer has written your life story? I'm not flattered because I think life has been very, very different for me. It's very hatke. But am I enthralled? Am I delighted? I'm absolutely on top of the world about it because, you know, I'm the only person in India he's written, in fact, I think Asia he's written a story about. And interestingly, I'm the only person who's mentioned by my name in the book. So I am Nisha Jamvwal. And the book is called, you know, it's Cast, and Thereby Hangs a Tale. And the story is called Cast Off.
Okay.
So he has started with my days in college and, you know, a famous romance in my life, which is still part of my life. And it's being considered to being made into a movie, helmed and spearheaded by Lord Jeffrey Archer himself.
Oh, that's awesome.
He and I have been friends for many years. He one day he invited me to lunch, and from his pocket, did you know that Lord Jeffrey Archer writes a story? He doesn't type it out. So he writes each and every story. So he picked out this paper from his pocket. We were at Thai Pavilion in Bombay, and he started reading a story. And I said, Jeffrey, who is this about? So he said, it's about you.
So that was a surprise.
It was a surprise, and I don't know whether I was, you know, embarrassed, excited, or was I confused? Did I want my life in a book? You know, it's a private thing after all.
Yeah. And that came to you as a surprise.
It was a total surprise. Oh. And I said, I mean, the name of the girl in the book was Rani. And I said, you know, Jeffrey, I don't think of myself as a Rani. So he said, okay, you choose a name. So I gave him a list of names and he looked at the list and he said, I don't think any of these names fits you. So he said, okay, I'll give you a list of names. So he gave me a list and I said, you know, Jeffrey, I don't like any of these names. He said, hey, why don't I just call you Nisha Jamvwal in the book? And I said, okay. And so the book has been one of the biggest bestsellers in India. It's absolutely 100% true. And it starts with me, you know, I used to be a race car driver. It starts with me meeting a man while driving a race car on a street in Delhi. And it is true. So read the book, and Thereby Hangs a Tale.
Okay, that's, I mean, amazing for you. I mean, it came to you as a surprise.
Yeah.
And how do you think he collected all the information about you?
No, so just like I'm talking to you right now, he's been a friend of mine for years.
Okay.
So obviously he knew my story and he'd been, you know, chatting with me, and one day he just, you know, brought this paper out, and 1 year later the book was out, and he called me to Souk, which is a very glitzy rooftop restaurant in Bombay. It was May the 2nd, I'm a Taurian, it was my birthday, and he pulled out this limited edition and gave it to me as a gift. I was so nervous, you know, because I mean, I said, Jeffrey, I can't read it. I'm so nervous. So he read me. He read me parts of it, and I had tears in my eyes. It was so. I mean,
Touching,
it's so he writes so beautifully. And I want to tell you a little thing about Jeffrey Archer. And maybe I'm going to be politically incorrect. I'm known to be, I'm known to be a person who is very outspoken. I must tell you, I met Wilbur Smith, the author. And, he writes stunning books. I've loved Wilbur Smith's books. But when you meet Wilbur Smith, that enigma, that chutzpah is completely lacking. But when you talk to Lord Jeffrey Archer, he's more than his books. He's enigmatic, he's charismatic, he's humorous, he's an orator, he's so well informed. And I just feel, I have goosebumps right now. I just feel so honored that my life has been immortalized by a man of the stature of Lord Jeffrey Archer.
So you've just been lucky to have such a friend in your life.
Is it lucky? Is it flattering? Or may I take the liberty of being immodest and saying I've had a very unusual life? It's easy, it's beautiful, it's unusual, it's celebrated. I get special treatment, but I've also had many, many challenges, and it's been a tough life also. And let me just say that I've taken life by the horns, and I've ridden the highs, and I've triumphed over the lows.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you? I mean, you have such a busy schedule. Like, how do you make time for family? Who are there? Who are there in your family?
I have a large family, and family, of course, comes first. I love them, and everything is very, very, beautiful about having friends and family. That's what gives you the buoyancy. That's what gives you the joie de vie to be the person you are. What gives you that foundation in life? It is those friends and family that make you feel so whole that you're not hankering and for things from the outside. It comes from inside, and that's what family is. And when you talk about time, I think there's more than enough time in a day to do absolutely everything. I don't really believe that life is about doing one thing or two things. You do everything, you fit it all in, and you enjoy. I mean, if you were to tell me impromptu, let's go and see a movie, I'd go and see a movie. I'm not, restricted by walls of timing. And in my life, even something like art. Art is design, it's painting, it's fashion, it's writing, it's even the way you put yourself together when you're going for a red carpet. There don't have to be walls in life.
You're a page 3 personality in India. Do you like being in the limelight?
So firstly, I want to tell you, Nikita, that I'm not sure I like being known as a page 3 personality. But let me tell you how it came about. So I have a very dear friend in Madhur Bhandarkar, the director. And one day he just called me. He said, I'm downtown, and I live downtown in Bombay. And he said, I'm downtown. Why don't you join me for lunch? And I said, sure, Madhur. And I went and joined him for lunch. And midway, there were lots of personalities at the banquet hall. And one of ZTV or one of the TV channels came to interview me. And I thought it's a normal thing for a Bombay party. So I gave the interview. Cut to 1 year later, he calls me and says, Nisha, what are you doing? Come for my, my trial of Page 3, the movie. And I went, and I suddenly, in one of the shots, I saw myself there eating lunch and doing that interview with the TV channel. He'd actually shot that whole lunch.
Okay.
And I suddenly, the next morning, one of the big newspapers of Bombay had a cover story with this big a photograph of me and saying Nisha Jamvwal debuts in Bollywood's Page 3. And the label has stuck. But if you were to ask me, do I see myself as a Page 3 persona? I definitely say no. I'd like to view myself as a woman, as a professional, as a woman of substance, as a woman who's, a workaholic. After all, I couldn't be handling so many professions by being, a party person.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about Bombay people is you work hard and you party hard. So yes, I definitely work hard, but I definitely enjoy the fun part that makes Bombay the city that never sleeps. Having said so, do I consider myself a Page 3 persona? I don't view myself as that. I view myself as somebody who's multitasked, things that have interested me. And I think I made a success of all the pies that I put my fingers in.
And you've actually formally studied in everything that interests you.
Yes, I started my education by studying English literature. So I'm a writer today. After that, I went to Los Angeles and Miami. I've studied art history and art criticism in Paris. In LA, I studied interior architecture and space planning. I've done a diploma in fashion and cutting. I'm actually a cutting master. So I've done fashion and cutting in Australia.
You have a label in your name, right?
Yes, I have a label called Sex with My Ex by Nisha Jamvwal.
Okay.
So in fact, I've done a very successful show right here in Bangalore.
Okay.
And some of your famous Bangaloreans like Vani Ganapati and Deepika Padukone have walked the ramp for me. I've also walked the ramp for myself. So it was at 2-3 of your famous Bangalore hotels, as well as the PVR, right? Yeah.
How often does this thing happen in Bangalore?
Whenever I'm invited to, speak publicly, walk the ramp or do a show, I'm always very happy to come to Bangalore. Like I said earlier, I love the city, I love the people, I love the vibe, I love the pubs, I love the little eateries. I love Bangalore.
You've lived in Egypt, right?
Yes,
the land of mystique.
I've lived in Egypt. I've studied Egyptology. I'm very intrigued by the history, the pharaohs, the absolute art. In fact, my house in Bombay has been profiled by some of the international magazines on design because I am a collector. I love contemporary art worldwide. So I buy art from all over the world. And one day when all this noise is over, I will paint.
Oh, that's in your bucket list.
That is my that is one of my main callings. The only reason that I haven't, given it so much time is there's a lot to do. There's a very interesting anecdote I'd like to share with you. Yeah. Recently, I was in London and Jeffrey Archer and I were having lunch. And he said, there's no time. And I said, oh my God, are you busy? And he said, no, what I mean is, I'm already 70. I think he's 70, 71, 72. Okay. And I have so many books to write. There's no time. I could go anytime. That to me was a game changer. Oh. Has anyone really stopped to think that there's very little time in life? Have we ever thought, there's so much to do. We should be doing all that stuff. And that is why I hero worship the man. I mean, he really believes in these beautiful things and he says them and they change things. They change one's vision of life, isn't it?
That's a wonderful thought. I mean, I think all the youngsters should adapt that. Yes. And that's how they can live their life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
How come you wear amazing hats, especially in India?
So, this is not something, Nikita, that I've developed recently. It's nearly as if it was part of me when I was born. I was hardly 4 when my father had taken me to a hill station called Simla, and I saw this little shop with the furry hats and I wanted one. So I've had a hat fixation since I was very, very young. And of course now it's become a talking point, and when people think of Nisha Jamvwal, they associate me with my hat collection. But I've always enjoyed hats. I've always bought them. I've got a whole collection of beautiful hats. I love wearing hats to the derby, to the races. Whenever there's a horse race, I love wearing my hats. In the beginning, when I just came back to India from Paris, a friend asked me, she said, Nisha, this is not Paris. People don't wear hats here. And I kind of ignored that because it's not about trends, it's not about traditions. I think style is intrinsically what gives you confidence yes. and what makes you feel perfectly beautiful within you. The grace with which you walk, the confidence with which you don what you don. It really isn't about what people approve of and what people don't. It could be a little OTT, but if you can pull it off, it's timeless and it's classic.
So that's your style statement.
It's never been something that I'm doing to create an impact. It's something intrinsic to me. It's something I love doing. It's something I love buying. So hats are part of Nisha Jamvwal.
So it gives you happiness.
Absolutely.
You're known for the gowns that you wear on red carpets. I think people will be waiting to see you. Can you talk about that?
So I have, again, when I came back to India, ladies used to wear saris and shalwars. Right since then, I've been wearing gowns and dresses. Today, the scenario in India has changed so much. Women wear dresses and women wear gowns. But I have always loved flamboyant, beautiful gowns. Let's just say maybe in my last birth, you know, I was part of some family in Europe where you dress like that. It comes so naturally to me. I love that feeling of the train on a red carpet. I love Alexander McQueen. I love DVF, Diane von Furtensberg. I love Vivienne Westwood. And yes, I do some fabulous red carpet gowns as well. It's something that gives you that immense pleasure of being yourself. And again, it's something that I have intrinsically built as part of my life.
Nisha, you've designed the Jaipur airport. Like, how did you do it? I mean,
you know, Nikita, it was very interesting. I was a rookie. I'd just come back after my education in Los Angeles. I was the first Indian to win the American Women in Architecture Award. Everyone in India was celebrating. I came back. I was interviewed by Airports Authority of India. There were very senior architects being considered. And there were these old men, you know, doing the interview, and they were like, "Ye kya karegi? What will she do? She's too young." So I said, "Sir, let me make the presentation.
Okay.
And whatever you decide after, you know, you've seen the seen the presentation, that's fine." I made the presentation and they took me. And believe it or not, I did pillars in trompe-l'oeil. Trompe-l'oeil is when, you know, paintings are done on the wall in 3D, as if there are pillars there. It's a technique. I had tanchoi saris and zari on sofas and bar stools. I had chandeliers in different colors. So it was very funky and very before its time. I had installed an elephant the size of probably 7.5 feet in the middle of the airport. And all foreigners used to come and take photographs with that elephant. It's still there. It was a very, very exciting project. And immediately after that, I did Lisa Ray's house. She's one of my best friends, and she just bought this house, and we were sitting exactly like this having tea, and while talking to her, I just picked up a paintbrush because the walls were being painted, and I started making a flower on the carpenter's dabba. And she said, "Nish, don't do it here, you know, don't waste it, do it on my wall." I said, "You want me to do it on your wall?" And she said, "Yes." You won't believe that flower became into a peacock, the sky, moons. By the end of it, 1 month later, I painted her whole living room. And I then designed the whole house. It was on BBC. It was, it became world famous. So that's how my career in design shot up from a very young girl. I became into one of the well-known designers.
When did all these happen?
As I came back to India, I was a very young designer when these very landmark projects just fell into my lap. I also helped Zeenat Aman to her house.
Okay.
That again was a landmark project. It's all been a very exciting career path.
Like
there's never been an unexciting moment in my life.
Like you just stated that you've designed amazing houses for others, but I'm very curious to know, how does your house look?
That's a very interesting question, Nikita. My own house, I have never designed.
Okay.
So I've lived and worked all over the world, and I'm a collector of art, of chandeliers, of tables. So my home has organically grown. It's actually had beautiful things in it which have come together and made for a space that is very eclectic, very dramatic, but very happy to be in. It is a statement of all the journeys that I've had together.
So you've kept it in a way that you feel happy about in your house.
Well, I mean, people who come there also enjoy it immensely.
Nisha, you are known as the best party host in India after Parmeshwar Godrej passed away. I mean, how do you get things done? Because to be best, it takes a lot.
So Nikita, thanks for the compliment. I don't know if I'm really the best, but definitely I put a lot into making a party attractive to all my guests, into making an evening a talking point and a memory that stays with my guests forever. Parmeshwar, of course, was an institution in parties. I mean, right from George Clooney to Richard Gere to Goldie Hawn, everyone's been to her parties. And for me, she was one of the most warm hosts. For me, what made Parmeshwar so fabulous was the fact that she gave every single guest personal attention. To me, when I throw a party, it starts with a tasting. It could be 1, it could be 4. I thoroughly wet the menu before the party. The second most important thing for me when you throw a party is decor. Decor is so important, whether it's the candelabras on the table, the linen, the crockery, the wine glasses, my own personal attire for the evening, and of course the most important thing, which is your guest list. How can you have a party if you have a unidimensional guest list? I think a party must have some people from Bollywood, some people from Hollywood, some authors, some artists, some theatre personalities. A party is not a party until it's a fabulously fun mix of people. And yes, a lot of effort, a lot of time goes into how you plan a party. The most important thing is I really have fun at my own parties. And to make each and every guest feel welcome and warm and special, I think is the secret of a good party.
You are a perfectionist. You are into everything and you've studied everything that you do. I think that's how it gets easier for you to organize such an amazing party and to be known as the best party host ever in India.
Thank you so much. That's really a compliment I cherish.
Being a globetrotter, it gives you a bird's eye view of a lot of things. Can you share your experiences?
So travel has been one of my greatest inspirations, whether it's in design, whether it's in architecture, whether it's couture, whether it's writing, meeting different people, facing new challenges, making an identity in countries where you're not known is a very interesting experience. It throws you out of your comfort zone and makes you into a game changer. You're not always, sitting in one comfort zone. Then okay, she's a writer, she's famous, she's in Bombay. When you're in Switzerland or whether you're in Boston or Tokyo or Japan, you keep challenging yourself and you keep meeting new people. You're contextual, you're changing your game, and that's what if you were to ask me, that's what feeds me. That's what makes me a more exciting person if you consider me that.
And Nisha, you've been compared to Mr. Modi and Shah Rukh Khan when it comes to social media and Google followers.
Yeah, it came as a very big surprise to me 2 years ago when I got this note from one of the statistic calculators. I didn't even realize that, I had such a great following on social media, especially on Google+. It's very exciting, and after that I started giving a little more cognizance to people who were following me. I'm so grateful to God that we live in a time where the internet was discovered. Social media gives you a direct access to people who like you, who read you, who follow you. I'm so grateful, that I have these beautiful people giving me inspiration each and every day. Because tell me, just around, 15 years ago, how would people who read you have access to you? Today, they just tweet you or they just Instagram you and they give you your opinions. 9 times out of 10, the opinions are great. And there is that one time when you get a lot of criticism. And I'm very happy for the criticism because it keeps challenging you. It keeps telling you where you're going wrong.
That's how you learn.
Exactly. Yeah. So social media is as big as an invention as the wheel or as the electric bulb. For me, it's one of the most exciting things, and I spend a lot of time on Snapchat, on Facebook. I love Facebook. I love the people I meet there. I've made some fabulous friends. I've got some international journalists interviewing me. I can give access to the world about my writing.
I've seen your Facebook profile. It's like quite active and it has a lot of information.
Yes.
Again, it takes you to your blog.
So I'm live streaming not only this interview, I'm live streaming the wedding.
Okay.
I'm always, giving access to my a slice of my life on social media.
Yes, and I think you have quite a lot of followers everywhere, right? Your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Facebook, everywhere.
So there's no free lunch. Nothing comes without a certain effort. I'm very particular about posting pictures that, you know, of what I'm doing at any given time. I enjoy it, and I love the feeds of, you know, of Narendra Modi, Shah Rukh Khan. I enjoy reading Shashi Tharoor's feeds. There are people worldwide I read, I enjoy. I love NASA. I'm a lover of astronomy. So kudos to social media.
And like it takes a lot to be where you are today. You're so well versed and so well informed, and I think you deserve to have so many followers on
Thank you
all the
so much.
social media sites.
Thank you so much.
Nisha, you're a strong believer of social work. From an actor, an interior designer, a luxury brand consultant, a motivational speaker, you write articles on relationships, and this social work, not everybody can done. Once you get the stardom, and when you set a mark for yourself, it's very difficult to see this aspect of life and help people. I mean, how did you do it? What thought?
You know, for something like this, it's not about thought, it's about the way you live your life. So, as you know, India is a very unequal country, and studying and living abroad, you get shocked at the level of inequality in this country. And being a sensitive Taurian woman, I've never been happy with this inequality. Some of my pet projects are educating street children, going to municipal schools and working with municipal children. Craft. One of the most important things that attracts me is the dyeing Indian crafts,
Yes.
traditional Indian crafts.
I read that about
Kalamkari,
yeah. I mean, in your
ikat.
Twitter, I actually read a lot about you, trying to save the Indian
crafts.
culture and old
because
art.
you know, in
Yeah.
this mass-produced world of industrial product, we tend to lose that touch and feel of the human creativity. And for me, it's not craft, it's art. So when you have Kantha paintings, Kantha embroidery, when you have Kalamkari, when you have Bastar art, I think India has the richest tradition of ancient traditional craft and art. And each of us has a responsibility to save it, to preserve it, and to encourage the craftsmen. Apart from which, another very important part of my life is the cause of women. Dowry is still not
Abolished.
and it's not something in the past. It's very much now. Abuse of women, women who are treated as second-class citizens, bad marriages where women are beaten. These are realities which we have to face. Rape, as you know. So I work towards all this. Do I regimentedly go into as an office bearer into NGOs? I think that defeats the purpose, because I don't want to be a self-important person, you know, trying to gain popularity. I do it because I want to, because I love it, and I do it as a supportive follower, not as somebody who's, you know, holding the baton and proving a point.
Everybody have some kind of thing in themselves that they need to help others in some or the other way, but nobody actually goes a step ahead and do anything for the society. And the kind of social work that you are indulged in, everything is like so important that to even think in that way, in terms and actually go and help them, it's like so difficult, and you've done that. I'm really glad that
Thank you so much.
I'm interviewing you today.
Thank you so much.
You're a motivational speaker, and the problems youngsters face these days in other countries are different from the ones which is faced by youths in India. What is your take on this?
So I'm going to handle your question in two parts, Nikita. One is, I think problems of the youth are universal. I don't really believe that they are dissimilar. They may be a little different, little bit hatke, but the intrinsic problems remain the same. So the first thing is, I never planned to be a motivational speaker. I was writing a column. I've been writing a column on relationships, on youth for the past 15 years. And taking off from there, you know, Rotary or schools, colleges, institutions worldwide would call me to speak. And I would speak about, you know, handling life. Also, like I said right in the beginning of this interview, I've had a challenging life. So people call me to, you know, to speak about how I've dealt with my personal challenges. And that's how I became to be called a motivational speaker. I want to hearken back to what you said earlier, that are problems the same? I think intrinsically they are the same. But yes, I mean, there are problems of, you know, kids coming from villages, being sidelined, being treated not very well in the cities. So there are some differing problems. But intrinsically, human nature is the same and human problems are the same. And when I say when people call me a motivational speaker, or when I say that I talk about human problems, let's say that life has given me a certain connect and a certain empathy to be able to talk, go into the skin of another person, and to be able to, you know, to be able to reach out and tell people how to navigate a difficult life, how to ride the waves, and how to, you know, be able to assimilate the troughs, the problems. Because, you know, the wheel has to turn. There is good and there is bad. There is night and there is day. And, you know, the essence of life is to be able to take both with a pinch of salt.
I mean, many people don't realize that they have that aspect in them to motivate others, but it's very difficult for you to realize and then use that and help others, motivating the youth especially. And you've been able to do that.
Thank you so much.
And do you have any message to the youth?
Yes, I have a very important message for the youth. It's please dream. Please be able to do what your heart wants you to do. Please do not let people tell you, you're not good enough. ऐसे थोड़ी करते हैं. If you have a belief and if you have a dream, follow that dream. And if you change that dream, please change that dream. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to be one thing or do one thing or love one thing. Life is about taking risks. Life is about dreaming dreams. And life is about experimenting. Change your game, reinvent yourself, and dream dreams.
That's a wonderful message, and thank you so much for being with us on our show. To be able to interview a person like you, it's like my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You are a motivator to a lot of youth out there, and I'm sure they would have drawn inspirational message from your life. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
really,
Nikita. Thank
nice
you so much,
meeting
YTV. That's Nisha Jamvwal for YTV. It's a pleasure and a delight to be with you today.
Thank you for watching the show. This is Nikki signing off. Watch out this space for more such interviews. Bye.